Okay, let's try to get this quiz done. I think we should be able to do this all in one shot here and not split up the videos. I'm doing this at home in my basement, and it's almost 11 o'clock at night. So I'm trying to get this done because I have a class that has to take this final on Friday, so I want it to be ready for them. All right, let's take a look at number one. Let's make this a little bit bigger if you don't mind. Oh, maybe if I can. Let's try it. There we go. And let's scooch it over right there. Okay, I think that'll be good. And hopefully my pen's not too thick. Okay, good. All right, so what we're going to do is find the surface area. The surface area, remember, there's basically two surface areas. Well, I guess three of them. All right, so remember doing this? We want to find the area of the top and the bottom. So if you find the top, the bottom's going to be exactly the same because you could consider them the bases of the prism. Okay, if you want to put bases, you can, but I like to put top and bottom. And then you find the lateral surface area. How do you find the lateral surface area? It's the perimeter of the base times the height. Right? So it's the perimeter of the base times the height. That's how you find the lateral surface area. So that's what we're going to try to do. Let's get rid of that. And let's go back to this. So it depends on how you want to look at this, on what's the top and the bottom. This is how I would like to look at it. I don't know, this is just the way I see it. I look at this as like the top or the bottom, okay, and then this right here as the top or the bottom. All right, so this is, I'll call this my base. I don't know, because it's just a nice little square and it's rising up this far. This would be my height of my prism. Okay, this would be the base of the prism. That's how I like to think of it. So you find the two bases, right? Top and bottom, if you want to call it. So what's the area of this right here? Well, if that's 15, then that has to be 15 as well. So what's the area of this base? Well, it's just 15 times 15, or 15 squared, which is 225. Now that's just this right here. I also have to find this right here, which is the same exact thing as this. So we just add another 225. And that's what, 450. That's not my final answer. That's just the top and it's just the bottom. Now what do I have to find? I have to find the lateral surface area. So the lateral surface area, and when I did this and I made my own answer key, I actually wrote this stuff down. I put LSA for lateral surface area. Again, what is it? It's the perimeter, P is for perimeter, of the base times the height. Now, what's the height of this thing? If this is the base, it goes up 32, so the height is 32. So all I got to do is find the perimeter of the base. That's easy. It's 15, right? 15, 15, 15, 15. So it's just 15 times 4, really. That's the perimeter of the base. Times the height. How tall is this thing? If it was standing on end, how tall would it be? It would be this tall right here, which is 32. Right? You plug that in and you get 1920. So look, this is the top and the bottom. This is your lateral surface area. To find the total surface area, what are we going to do to those two numbers? Yep, we're going to add them up. So if you add them up, I'll just put a plus right here. You add them up and you get 2370. 2370. Now it is area, so it's centimeters squared, but I'm just going to leave that out. It just gets a little bit messy. Some teachers really would like you to write that in there. I'm okay at this point. Later on when you do some other harder classes, like if you're in chemistry or physics or something like that, yeah, the units become very important to you. So but for this class I don't care. So just put 2370 and you're fine. Alright, hopefully that makes sense. This is kind of the same deal. When I think of the top and the bottom or the two bases, I think of this. Alright, even though it's on the side, I think of that as the base because look what it's doing. If this is the base, the other side, alright, see all that? I'm not going to mark it in just to make it less messy. All that other side right there would be the other base. So those are your two bases. So I'm going to find the area of those two bases. Alright, now if that's 13 this way, that's going to be 13. So how do I find the area of this base? Well, this base is a triangle, isn't it? So how do I find the area of a triangle? It's 1/2 the base times the height. So it's 1/2. The problem is this triangle right here. What's the base of this triangle? They don't tell me the base of the triangle. But you could do Pythagorean Theorem and find it. Or you could recognize that it's a special triangle. This is a 5, 12, 13 triangle. That's why we learn those things, to make it a little bit easier. So the base of this is 12. If you don't like, if you don't like memorizing those things, that's fine. Go ahead off to the side. I'm not going to do it here, but you go off to the side, do Pythagorean Theorem, and then you'll find out that that's 12. Right? It just makes things a little bit easier. So what are we doing? It's 1/2 the base times the height, which is that right there. Half of 12 is 6, times 5 is 30. So that's this side right here that's shaded. All right, I'll call that the base. Think of this as I just took this and I turned it over and put it on its side. Okay, so it's sitting on this part right here. That's the base. Well, the height's going to be the exact same thing if it's a prism. So I just add a 30 to it, and then I get the 60. All right, so that's the area of the two bases is 60. I'm going to put that in a box, and we'll hang on to it and add it to the lateral surface area. Now, let's talk about that. How do I find the lateral surface area? It's right here. It's the perimeter of the base times the height. So let's find the perimeter of the base. I'll just put LSA. The perimeter of the base are these three sides added up. Well, 13 and 12 is 25 plus 5 is 30. So that's the perimeter of the base times the height. How tall is this? If it's sitting on this bottom right here, it's going up 3. So it's 3. So that would be 90. That's the lateral surface area. So there's the top and the bottom together, which is 60. This is all the sides. All right. You just add those up, and you get 150. And that's it. All right. I hope that makes sense. I know I'm going a little quick, but you can always stop and slow down and rewind and all that good stuff. Okay, surface area of a cylinder. Now we're still going to do the top and the bottom, the two bases. So look, what's it sitting on? It's sitting on a circle, or the top, right? The bottom and the top are exactly the same, or it wouldn't be a cylinder, okay? So the top is a circle. So how do I find the area of a circle? Well, I go pi r squared. That's something you have to have memorized. So that's the top. So it's going to be pi times 5 squared, which is just 25 pi. Now that's the top. What's the bottom going to be? That's the top, 25 pi. What's the bottom? Same exact thing. That's also 25 pi. So you add them up, and what's the top and the bottom become? 50 pi. Put it in a box. It doesn't mean that's my answer. I'm just holding on to it and saving it for later. That's the top, and that's the bottom. Okay, good enough. Let's find the lateral surface area. All the sides of this thing, okay? All the sides of it, the lateral surface area. Do you remember what it is? It's the perimeter of the base times the height. All right. Perimeter of the base. What kind of figure is this base right here? Well, it's a circle. So how do we find the perimeter of a circle? It's 2 pi r, and r is 5. That's the perimeter of the base, 2 pi r, times the height. How tall is this cylinder? How tall up and down? It's 7. All right, and so what is this? 2 times 5 is 10, times 7 is 70 pi, so that's 70 pi. It's kind of nice to keep it in terms of pi until you're ready at the very end to put it into a calculator. Look, you add those up. What does that add up to be? 120 pi. If you wanted to keep it 120 pi, that would be perfectly fine. I wouldn't mind. In fact, I used to teach out of a book that's the way that they wanted you to keep the answer, is 120 pi, because I didn't need a calculator at all for this. But this book likes the decimals, so we're going to put that into a calculator, and you get about 377, and it actually does round to 0.0. If you put, it's like, I think it's 369.9 or something, or 376.9 or something like that, and it does round to 377.0, right? And that's fine, just like that. Again, if you wanted to keep it 120 pi, it's fine with me, but the book will probably give an answer like that. All right, I hope that makes sense. Again, it's the same exact formula as the prism, all right, except now the base is a different type of a figure. Before, the base was a square, so we just did base times height. This base was a triangle, so we did 1/2 the base times the height. This time the base is a circle, so we do pi r squared. It all depends what the base is, right? So it's not like you already knew those formulas before. So the actual surface area of the prism or the cylinder is really the same exact formula. Just find the top and the bottom, and then find the lateral surface area, and that's basically what you end up doing for those the whole time. All right, look at this. This is kind of the same thing, but you don't have two bases. It's not a prism where the top and the bottom are exactly the same. In fact, it doesn't even have a top. It comes to a point. So it just has a base and it's got lateral surface area. That's all it has. But notice it does come to a point. So we're still going to find the area of the base. So let's find, let me just write that out. Let's find the area of the base first. So what kind of a, now it says it's a regular pyramid. So look at this. It's 4 sides and one side is 9. That means all 4 sides are 9. So the base, or the area, we'll put this, area of the base is equal to just base times height, which is 9 times 9, or 9 squared, which is 81. Again, we'll put that in a box for safekeeping, and then we'll add that to the lateral surface area. So now we have to think a little bit about the lateral surface area. This is a little bit tougher than what we did earlier. So the lateral surface area is still the perimeter of the base times the height. In this case, though, it's the slant height. All right. So, yep. So it's the perimeter of the base, which is what? 9 is one side, right? The whole side is 9 times what? Times 4. So that would be 36. So that's the perimeter of the base. You can write that in there if you want to. I'm not going to, but that's the perimeter of the base. I'm sorry. You got to put a 1/2 in there because this is a triangle. Right? That's the difference. That's a big difference. See, right there and right there and right there. So you're finding the area of the triangle, so you're going to have a 1/2 the perimeter of the base times the slant height, which is this thing right here. And they tell you exactly what it is. They tell you it's 10, so I can just put a 10 right there. All right, so I almost forgot about this myself. But then I looked at it, I'm like, oh, wait a minute, it's a triangle. So it's 1/2 the perimeter of the base times the slant height. Okay? And you should look at it and see, yeah, look, I've got a triangle. How do I find the area of that triangle? It's 1/2 the base times the height. So 1/2 this times this. But how many of these triangles am I going to have? How many of these faces are on this pyramid? Well, there's 4 of them. That's why the 4 right there. Okay, so it's 1/2 the base, which is 9, times the height on this triangle right here is 10. All right, and why the 4? Because there's 4 of these triangles around here. That makes sense, I believe. And then put that in there, you get 180 for that. That's the lateral surface area. That's the base that it's sitting on. That's the lateral surface area, right? You add those together, and you get 261. And that's it. That's your answer right there, 261. All right, number 5. Number 5 probably was, I don't know if I would say, nah. I was going to say it's most difficult, but there is one little thing that you do have to remember here. All right, so it's kind of the same thing as a pyramid. So it's the area of the base. So that's the base right there. In this case, the base is not a square like the other one was up there. This is a circle. So we find the area of that circle, which is pi r squared. And it's 7, and it's squared, so it's 49 pi. So again, we'll put it in a box, and we'll use it later. So now what I have to do is find the lateral surface area of the cone. This is like a little extra formula that you really have to memorize. All the other ones all were based on, you know, formulas that you already knew before, but this one's a little bit trickier. So to find the lateral surface area of a cone is just pi r and then L. So you got to know what, let me just make sure I'm doing that right. I am. You got to know what L is. What is L? L is the slant height. This 21 is not the height that you want to use. That's not the L. This right there is the L. That's the slant height. That's what you have to find. So this one's a little tricky. You got to find what that is. So you think, well, I don't know where am I supposed to find that? Well, look what I have. I've got a nice little right triangle here, don't I? I've got this. Do nice straight lines here. You've got this. And that's your slant height right there. So look, they tell you that's 21, they tell you that's 7, it's a right triangle, and you have to find that. So it's just Pythagorean Theorem. So let's do the Pythagorean Theorem. I'll tell you what, you just go 7 squared plus 21 squared equals L squared. Take the square root of that, and you get 22.1. So you get approximately 22.1. All right, so that's the slant height. So now we're ready to put everything in. It's pi times the radius. What's the radius of that circle? It's 7 times the slant height, not 21, it's 22.1. So 22.1. Put that into your calculator, and I think you get 154.7 if my notes are correct. 154.7 pi. All right. Now watch. What do? You take these two things in the boxes, you add them up, and you get, I'll just get the calculator answer, you get about 640. Just 640, and it rounds to 0.0. So I'll put the 0.0 in there since it says round to the nearest tenth. And that's how you do it. I'm not showing you all the calculator stuff. That just takes too much time. You can do that on your own. That's what we do. This is the area of the base. This is the lateral surface area, pi r L. Pi r L. We had to find L. That was the trick to this. You had to find what L was. You put it in here. You go pi r L, and you get this number. You add those two numbers together, and then you get approximately, not exactly, but approximately 640. All right. That probably was maybe the second hardest out of all these. I'd say this one and number 8 were probably the most difficult, and they probably have about the same level of difficulty. And the only really level of difficulty is just knowing that you have to find that slant height. That's really all it is. Alright, I hope it wasn't too hard for you. Let's look at this. These are actually, I think most people, they struggled with some of these up here, and then they got to the volume, and they're like, wow, I wish you would have given me all these volume problems because they're much easier. And let's take a look. You just have to remember the formula that I gave you for the volume of a prism. So the volume of a prism is the area of the base times the height. That's it. The surface area was tough because you had to find top, bottom, and the lateral. With this, all you got to do is one formula, and you're basically done. That's base. Area of the base times the height. Okay, that's it, of a prism or a cylinder. Okay, it's just the area of the base times the height. So look at this. It's sitting on this thing right here, which is a rectangle. So how do I find the area of a rectangle? It's just 6 times 8. All right, so watch, volume equals. So 6 times 8, that's the base, that's that right there, times what? Times the height. How tall it is. How tall is it? It's 2. There you go. Just throw those numbers in, multiply them all together, and you get 96. And it's feet cubed, by the way. Feet cubed. I'm not going to be picky about the units, but that's what it would be. 96 feet cubed. That's all there is to it. Area of the base times how tall it is. So it's area of the base times the height. This is the same deal. Let's scooch it over so I have some more room to write. This is the same exact deal. The volume is the area of the base times the height. So what are we going to do? We're going to find the area of the base. It just happens, though, this base is not a rectangle like it was over here. The base is now a circle. So it's just pi r, which is 3, squared. That's the area of the base. Times what? Times the height. Look, they give you the height. They give you everything you needed. You didn't even have to figure out anything on this thing. The base, or the height is from the top, perpendicular to the bottom. Right? So this thing is oblique. It leans. That's okay. The formula still is exactly the same, even though it leans. That right there is given to be the height, and that's 5. So you just multiply that by 5. All right? And you plug that into a calculator, and you get 141.1, or 4, sorry. 141.4. And it's in inches, so it'd be inches cubed, but I'm fine if you just put the number there. That's all you do. All right? Area of the base times the height. Easy for cylinder and prism. Area of the base times the height. That's how you find the volume. Now, what about a pyramid or cone? Well, if you remember these, it's the same volume, it's the same as it would be if it was a prism or a cylinder, except for one exception. Right? This takes up 1/3 of what the prism would be. Watch, if I had a prism, and I don't know if I could draw this or not, but if it went like this, does that make any sense? Okay, so if this was actually a prism, this pyramid would take up 1/3 the space of what would fit inside that, or what, the whole entire prism. I don't know if that makes sense, but we explained it in class before, and I think most of you understood what I was talking about. So let's do this. Let's find this. So the volume is just 1/3 the area of the base times the height. Alright, so this is the area of the base and this is the height. So let's see. What kind of base do we have? Well, we got a rectangle, don't we? 1, 2, 3, 4 sides. This side is 10, this side is 8, so that's pretty easy. That's just 10 times 8, isn't it? Which is 80. So that's the base right there. That's the area of the base times the height. Now this is where this one gets a little tricky. Remember I said this one was a little bit tougher. So I got to find the height of this pyramid. The height is that dotted line right there. See where my pen's sketching over it right there? Okay, that right there is the height. They don't tell you that distance. That's a little tough. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of take, if you see that triangle, let me see if I can draw. I don't know if yellow will show up on this well or not. Let's see. So that, let's make it a little thicker. Yeah, that's better. That right there and that. See that triangle? I hope, yeah. See that triangle that's sitting inside there? What I'm going to do is I'm going to blow that triangle up. Not like explode it, make it go into nothing. I'm going to make it bigger. And I'm going to bring it out here like this. So it would look like this, it would look like this, and like that. Alright? And that would be a right angle. So this side is the actual height of the pyramid. That's what I'm trying to find. I don't know that. That's what needs to go right here. They don't tell me that. What about this? This is the slant height of this pyramid. It's from here to here. And what is that? Well, they tell it to you right there. It's 14. They point to that. That right there is 14. So that's 14. Here's the tricky part. Here's what a couple people missed. Well, more than a couple people, but this little length right here. That little length is this length here. Some people put 5 because they saw the 10. They thought, oh, that's half of 5. But it's not, because it's half of from here all the way to here. So it's half of this length right there. This is half of the 8. So from here to here would be 8. This would be half of the 8, so that would be 4. See, it makes it look a lot nicer when you kind of blow it up and you put it out here like this. Okay, so this is this yellow triangle right here, but just kind of twist it around, and this is the height, that's the slant height, and this is the bottom of that little triangle. So I got to find the height in order to put it in right there. So what do? I do Pythagorean Theorem. So h squared plus 4 squared equals 14 squared. You solve for h. And let's see what I get for that. I got about 13.4 for that. So that's 13.4 for the height. All right. So again, let's review. What's the volume? It's 1/3 the area of the base. The base is a rectangle. 10 times 8 is 80 times the height. Drew that triangle, found the height by Pythagorean Theorem, put it right here. Now, I just got to plug all that stuff in a calculator, and I get 357.3. 357.3 for the volume. All right, put all that into a calculator, and I got that. That was probably, I'd probably say that was the toughest one out of all the problems that you had to do on this quiz. Look, these are real straightforward. Let's scooch this over so you can see them. These are way easier than what we just finished doing. And let's get this color. Again, so what do? The volume equals the area of the base times the height. Oh, it's 1/3. Oh, don't forget. It's 1/3. Why? Because it's a pyramid. It's not 1/2. A lot of people put 1/2 on this quiz. It's not. It's 1/3. It takes up 1/3 of what the prism would take up. So it's 1/3. I'll tell you what, that looks pretty ugly. Let's get rid of, oops, sorry. Looks even worse. Let's get rid of this. Let's do that one more time. I don't know, that really bugged me. Equals 1/3 the area of the base times the height. So look at the base of this thing. Again, it's nice and simple. It's a square actually, 4 times 4. So 4 times 4 is 16. That's the area of the base times the height. We didn't even have to go through all this mess this time because they tell you the height. This dotted line from the top, perpendicular to the base. See how it's perpendicular right here? That is the height. And they tell it to you. It's 6. They tell you everything you needed to know. Wasn't that nice of them? And then you just put that in there. Look, 1/3 of 6 is what? 2 times 16 is 32. Exactly 32. That's it. All right, last one. We're almost done. See, this quiz wasn't as hard as what you thought, I don't think. Do you? Now remember, I told you in class that this whole thing right here was 14. Some people might have looked at it and thought just the radius was 13, but the diameter is actually 14. The radius is 7, so make sure you understand that. So what's the equation or the formula? It's 1/3. It's a cone, so it's 1/3, okay, the area of the base times the height. Now in this one, we had to figure out what the height was. Again, they tell you the slant height. See that dotted line right there? From the top, perpendicular to the base, that's the actual height. But look, if this is 7, that's not the best color to use if I'm drawing on top of there. What about this? We'll go with this green. Alright, so if that's 7, I don't know, can you see that? That's 7. Remember, that side right here is 25. The slant height is 25. We have something. We have that special triangle, 7 something 25. You could do Pythagorean Theorem if you wanted to, but this is one of our special triangles. They call it a Pythagorean Triple. This is 7, this would be 24, and this is 25. Do Pythagorean Theorem and you'll see that this does come out to 24. But it's kind of nice to know some of those Pythagorean triples because it just saves you some time and it saves you some work and you don't have to go through all that mess to use Pythagorean Theorem and to find it. But you guys are familiar with Pythagorean Theorem enough to be able to do that fairly quickly, I think. Alright, enough talking. Let's do the problem. It's 1/3 the area of the base. So I got to find the area of the base. I'll tell you what, let's write it out here. I'll give some more room. 1/3 the area of the base. Well, what is the base? It's a circle. So it's pi, what? R, which is 7, squared. That's the area of the base. Probably don't need this parentheses right here. Let's get rid of that. We'll just put a dot though. Alright, so it's 1/3 pi r squared. Pi r squared is the area of the base. Times what? The height. Times the height. What did we do? We just found the height, didn't we? I said it's 24. So you just put a 24 right there. Plug all those numbers into your calculator, and you should get something like this, 1231.5. And that's the volume of that cone right there. Again, what we do, it's the area of the base times the height, and then you take 1/3 of it. Right? So what I would do, if I was using a calculator, I wouldn't put 1/3. I would do all this stuff in my calculator. Then at the end, I would hit divide by 3, hit equals, and you should get that number right there. That's probably the easiest way to do it. So there you go. That's your quiz right there in 27 minutes. Now I did a lot of explanation, but I explained everything. I did all these problems in 27 minutes, and I gave you guys like 20 minutes today in class. So if you take away that explanation, that would be half of me working the problem. So that shows that you should have had plenty of time to do this, if you knew what you were doing, though, and that's the key. You got to know what you're doing. Same thing with the final exam. All right, you've got to know what you're doing. I mean, it's only 40 problems, but you're only getting 2 class periods to do it. So that's like, that's just regular time. So you got to make sure you're on pace. You know exactly. You're not sitting there thinking about it. You're just doing. And that's the only way that you're going to finish the test when you need to. All right, enough of that. Good luck with this. Hopefully, let's see, I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think we only have one more test to do. Maybe 2, maybe chapter 10 and 11. I don't think we did chapter 10 yet. So anyway, we'll try to get those done as soon as we can. And so we got a lot of work tomorrow in class. And for one of you guys, or one of your classes, first period, you actually have the test on Friday. So that's it. All right, now it's 11:15, and I got to go to bed. See ya. Bye.